Violent clashes between anti-ICE protesters and police took over the streets of downtown LA over the weekend. This is what the scene looked like in different parts of LA County. Plumes of smoke from burning fires in the middle of the street and cars just completely engulfed in flames. We also saw this. Demonstrators destroying police vehicles by pelting rocks, electric scooters, and street signs over that overpass you see here. And this is what happened on the freeway just yesterday. Officers took down that demonstrator during a face-off with protesters, and others were also hauled away in zip ties. Officers also deployed what looked to be tear gas and fired non-lethal rounds towards some groups. Now, the troops arrived in the area on Sunday after President Trump ordered the deployment of 2,000 National Guard members. California officials like Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass urged the president to rescind the order.
No, my disappointment is I've been talking to the federal government for days. I was hoping to prevent this situation from happening. I was trying to encourage the administration that if they deployed the National Guard in Los Angeles, it would create a sense of chaos. It's the last thing our city needs. Our city is still trying to recover from the wildfires. And you just think about how so many people were impacted by that. And that's an example of where the administration was helpful. And to go from that situation to where we are now is just really tragic. And I think it's so unfortunate. It's the last thing Los Angeles needs.
Donald Trump has created the conditions you see on your TV tonight. He's exacerbated the conditions. He's, lit the proverbial match. He's putting fuel on this fire ever since he announced he was taking over the National Guard. An illegal act, an immoral act, an unconstitutional act, and we're going to test that theory with a lawsuit tomorrow.
All right, we've got team coverage. Standing by is CBS News crime and public safety unit senior coordinating producer Anna Schecter. Also here, White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi. But first, let's go live to LA with CBS News Los Angeles' Rick Montanez on the ground there. Rick, can you walk us through what the scene is looking like right now?
Mugo, much different than we saw late last night into the overnight hours, but still a lot of damage and destruction out here. We are just off the 101 freeway across from one of the federal buildings, a few blocks from the Federal Detention Center. And you see these cars here. These are Waymo cars. There's 5 of them that were vandalized and then set on fire, and they burned down to the ground completely. These cars, it appears, had been called out here during yesterday's protests. This company, which operates these automated, self-driving, all-electric rideshare vehicles, now suspending its service here in downtown LA. We're still seeing a large police presence across the area, but at this point, not really much in the way of protesters, at least not yet anyway.
Yeah, it's looking quiet behind you, aside from, of course, the Waymos, which we see so many of them out here in the San Francisco area as well. Just so unfortunate to see the damage caused during the protests. Now, help us understand how things got to this level. Do you get the feeling the deployment of U.S. troops yesterday added more fuel to the fire, like the governor and mayor are saying?
And that's certainly what a lot of community members are saying. I mean, we've been hearing from a lot of these immigrants' rights groups that are angry to see the deployment of the National Guard. We know that the president had activated, 2,000 National Guard members, but we understand only a few hundred of those made it here to Los Angeles at this point. But certainly the public that are protesting were angry to see that happen, angry to see any sort of federal presence here on the streets as they protested.
Yeah, and Rick, obviously the weekend is over, but are officials on the ground expecting to see the same level of protesting today on a Monday?
Mugo, as I understand, he has gone off of what it calls tactical alert. That is when a large-scale event happens here within the city, and they can redirect their resources. They canceled that after things calmed down overnight, but we've got to imagine that law enforcement is still preparing for what could happen today, because later this morning we're looking at a demonstration starting at 11 o'clock for the SEIU, one of the largest labor unions, has called this rally because its president was arrested by federal agents on Friday. They say that the federal agents say that he was interfering with their operation, so they took him into custody. So that rally is set to happen at 11 o'clock local time here in downtown LA, right across the street from City Hall. So we'll see how that turns out, but it's reasonable to expect more protesters here on the streets of downtown Los Angeles today.
All right, CBS News Los Angeles, Rick Montanez, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate your reporting. All right, let's bring in CBS News Crime and Public Safety Unit Senior Coordinating Producer Anna Schecter. Anna, good to see you today. What's the message from the LAPD on how they are responding to this unrest, and do they feel the deployment of troops helped or hurt?
It's a great question, and it's good to be with you. So the law enforcement community in Los Angeles, they really feel like they're put between a rock and a hard place, because initially, let's remember that this escalated over the course of 3 days. So Sunday morning, law enforcement felt like, we have got this. We do not need this rhetoric about sending National Guard troops here. We have got this. But then things escalated, and by late Sunday night, you had cars on fire, people jumping on top of cars. Someone even threw a Molotov cocktail. So the escalation really does have law enforcement now on high alert. But certainly the feeling, on Saturday and early Sunday was, we have got this situation under control. Now, the Los Angeles Police Department has requested support from neighboring agencies like the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Also, the California Highway Patrol is there assisting. That's a state agency. So they really feel like they do have the support of local and state agencies in California, and they have definitely tapped into that in anticipation now of more protests now into Monday.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of back and forth in the airways between the Trump administration and the LA officials over the deployment of those National Guard troops. Now, Governor Gavin Newsom says he plans to file a lawsuit, but can you explain how that would play out?
Sure. Well, it's unclear what grounds he's going to file the lawsuit on. I believe he's going to argue that it was unnecessary for President Trump to override his wishes as the governor of the state of California and deploy those California National Guard's troops down to LA and up to LA from around the state. So that's going to be his argument. But President Trump does have authority to override, if merited, to bring in those troops. So it's going to be this sort of he said. And let's not forget that there has been an ongoing public display of animosity and political flame throwing between President Trump and Governor Gavin Newsom for many months now, and that continues to this day. And unfortunately, we'll never know if things would have gotten as bad as they did Sunday night in Los Angeles had there not been so much political rhetoric, heated rhetoric that could have actually created an environment where even more violent protests would take place.
Oh, yeah, and that's a very good point there. How exactly are officers out there in the area, how are they preparing for possible unrest today?
Well, they've now, this is now day 4, so they have had command outposts supporting. They actually had to respond to the ICE agents who requested support over the last few days, but they've also been dealing with the eruption of violent protests. And so they are stretched really thin, but it's another day. They're putting on their uniform. They are grateful for the support of neighboring agencies. I'm talking about the Los Angeles Police Department. But this is tough. Now we're in day 4 of protests in Los Angeles.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens today. Anna Schecter, thank you for your time. CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi, she has much more on how the White House is reacting to all of this. And of course, she joins us now. Olivia, good morning to you. So Governor Gavin Newsom says he plans to sue the administration over deploying those National Guard troops. What is the argument from the White House? Why did they decide to go this route?
Well, Mugo, it's good to be with you. The White House is defending their decision to send these National Guard troops, arguing that they needed to protect federal law enforcement that was on the ground and federal buildings that they felt were under attack. Yesterday, we got a statement from a White House spokeswoman who said that President Trump rightfully stepped in to restore order and law because of Gavin Newsom's leadership and his refusal to stop the violent attacks. We know that the president was using his authority under what's called Title 10, which is a federal statute that allows him to activate the National Guard whether or not the state's governor has asked for it. So that's what we know the White House is using. They have called up about 2,000 California Army National Guard troops. Only about 300 or so are deployed right now on the ground in California. And the president has also said that they could potentially see active duty Marines on the ground. We heard that from Secretary Hegseth as well, that they are standing by at Camp Pendleton to potentially get involved in this as well if these riots were to escalate.
So, Olivia, a new CBS News poll shows the president is receiving high marks on his immigration policies. 54%, you see there, they approve of the administration's program to deport immigrants illegally in the U.S. So does this further justify the president's push to send more troops to L.A.?
Well, we know that the White House has seen this poll because we saw Communications Director Stephen Chung retweet it and say that they expect these numbers to go up, actually, after seeing President Trump's reaction to what happened in California and sending in the National Guard. So they have seen it. They're celebrating these numbers. We know that. But it's important to note that the poll actually found that the more people who feel for Americans who feel the administration is trying to deport more people than expected, they're less approving of the program. Americans are generally, a majority of them are approving of the administration's immigration policies if they feel the administration is going after criminals, people who have records, people who have broken the law while they've been here. But those numbers go down when Americans feel that they're attacking family members or people who came here illegally but perhaps have been community members paying their taxes, things of that sort. So important to note there on our CBS News poll.
Yeah, and also we know this is happening as the president's travel ban on people from various countries takes effect. It actually goes into effect today. So what more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that went into effect at midnight last night. We know 19 countries are now experiencing greater restrictions when it comes to coming into the United States. Some of the countries that have total bans include Afghanistan, Chad, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Myanmar, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Those who have partial restrictions include Cuba, Venezuela, Togo, Sierra Leone. So a wide range of countries here. But the reason why the White House says they're doing this is because of national security reasons. They say that these countries in specific lack sufficient vetting for their passport controls, and also they have high rates of citizens who tend to overstay U.S. visas when they are given them. So the White House is citing those restrictions. And Mugo, it's important to note that this White House is no stranger to travel bans. We saw it during the first Trump administration, and it took 3 iterations of that before the Supreme Court ultimately approved it. So they came to the table ready and prepared for this ban as well.
Okay. CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi, thank you again for your time today.